start recording here. Let's see. Okay. And let's see. No one else joining yet. Okay.
One second. I think it was Eric. I saw that he accepted the meeting, but should be here at least in
Okay.
the.
Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to go through real quick the update, like what's going on and stuff. So just quick, like 15 minutes, and then we'll talk about what we do and stuff like that. I want to get back to, definitely back to, getting out there more. And definitely everything is starting with apprenticeship, so it's a big deal. So, but let's start. If people join, we'll have them join. This is recorded anyway. So let me just go into the presentation, which I actually gave today. So Nova Foundation has been supporting us, and actually amazing news there. They actually decided they're gonna support us 3 more years.
Cool.
Hello. Hi, Eric. Nova Foundation today has declared that they're proposing to support us further, $250K a year for the next 3 years. That's major news. That's really good news. So
Nice.
we got
Nice.
that. Definitely will help everything move forward, and it's only the beginning. So I'll start with let me share my screen and do the presentation. So let me go into the community update. So, and just only 15 minutes, so we can just kind of get on the same page. Quick review of everything that's happened. Let me.
And the apprenticeship is the top of is like your top priority right now. That's coming up September 1st,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then I'm just trying to like recall it all.
Yeah. Just a
branding.
brief overview on that. I mean, apprenticeship as in, okay, we know how to build a house now. We can sell a house. The revenue from each house is really good, and that could be used to support the bigger program. And by people working 2 days per week, work study, 2 days a week building homes. The rest 3 days, it's learning how to learning how to design and build just about anything, and learning how to be a human. So actually teaching people soft skills, leadership, everything else around character, and all those things you don't learn in school. So that's awesome, and I certainly missed that in my school. As you know, maybe I've talked about this a lot, feeling more and more useless the farther I went in my education. So I decided to change that. With the apprenticeship, it's a self-funding model. It allows us to take in people and have them engaged full-time. The full package is long-term. It's 4 years. But also, we're very hard sell. I thought we'd be filled up by now, right? But after announcing, and of course, ChatGPT said that, okay, well, you got to get your act together in terms of publicity. But beyond that, it is a hard sell, a major commitment. You know, we don't have a track record with that. We've tried an apprenticeship a few years ago with only 6 people. One of the learnings is that we're not going to start with less than 24 people, because that makes the work fun and productive. So this is a revenue model that now, when we grow this ambitiously, the 2028 stands, right? So 2028 is a figure I came up with in 2018, committing to finish this puppy by 2028, 10 years from that date. Been at it. It's slow. It's definitely bumps along the road in terms of taking things to the finish line, right? The finish line means the very, very hard work, that 90% or 99% to that 100% product release, like the house is right now, takes an infinite amount of time. It's super hard to get any volunteers or any people to do it, and we can't get people, even pay people, because we don't have revenue streams and stuff like that. So it's a really hard package, but altogether it's happening. And now the ambitious deal is all the GVCS by 2028 still, and that's a major event. So right here in town, we're talking about 240 people on site within like ASAP. 24 starting September 1. I actually think that this place here we'll go up to 2,400 people. We might need more than 30 acres, but we're talking about like literally a crazy intensification of the whole program. And the latest thought is even square mile. And this is I'm serious about this now. We always talk about, okay, open source blueprints for civilization. Here's a civilization startup experiment. What's it take to make a full civilization? Well, these days, I'm thinking like 10,000 people. So let's do. No, it's a question. That's an open question. But initially, it's like, okay, village scale is 120, right? Dunbar's number ain't gonna be enough for spaceships and microchips. And we want to include that because we're talking about full civilization with all of its productivity. So nominally taking 10,000 1 square mile, but if you're talking about that, take the GDCS in terms of productivity of various machines. Like a sawmill produces 4,000 board feet of lumber in 8 hours. The brick press presses 5,000 bricks in 8 hours. A CNC machine produces high value parts. So each of these things per day, you're talking about like 5K. And that's the kind of design. High industrial productivity, like 5K a pop. What's it get you with 10,000 people? Just for quick math. Working 1 day a week. We're gonna take it easy, right? We're gonna take it easy. We're not even talking about working full time. We're talking 1 day a week. Remember I had that video about open source philosophy video? I said, what if we could survive and make a modern standard of living with just 2 hours of work per day? Right. Well, this is what it's about.
It depends.
Working in 1 day. It depends. $4 billion. That's bigger than the poorest 30 or so countries. So let's do this experiment. Hey, let's try. So how do you do it? Okay, let's give you a presentation for an update of what we've done so far, and then take it to see. Okay, what's possible? Is this possible? Are we just pipe dreaming, or is this realistic? So let's go to, let's see, I gotta go share the screen. Share. Window, entire screen.
Yeah, I'm on mobile, so I might be having issues with that due to the mobile bit. Let me see here.
Share that. Okay, do you guys see it?
Hey, there we go. Yeah.
Okay. So you've seen the talk. I come from Poland. This is what I've seen on my streets. This is real. My hometown of Poznań, 1982. This is actually my memories from Poland. Lines waiting for food, empty store shelves. That was real. So when I saw this in America, I was like, holy cow, that's amazing. Ended up going to Princeton, University of Wisconsin-Madison, and discovered that was useless. So I started a farm. What are the learnings on the farm? So I want to go through all the main learnings we've had so far. So we decided to build machines which were necessary. Like we needed housing, the first thing, housing, agriculture. It was all an empty soybean field at that time. Well, we built machines, tractors, brick presses for housing. Okay, when we did the brick press, you might have seen this. First thing that happened is replications happened. So this wasn't, so James Slade, when he did this, I didn't even know about it, and I always say that I thought this was a Photoshop copy of our machine, because he never even told me about this, and it's like, they did it down in Texas from our open blueprints. So did they in Pasadena, California, one of our tractors. 3D printers got replicated. We achieved 1 day. 12 people can build a CEB press in 1 day. Extreme production, extreme manufacturing. How do you do it? IKEA-style fabrication diagrams, absolute complete modular breakdown, simplicity, radical modularity, power cubes that interchange. You can snap them out as an engine, wheel units that can serve, for example, for wheel drive for various implements, and then getting into the concepts of design, reducing prototyping cycles from months to days. So this is the iron worker we built here, actually. Let me get rid. What is this stuff here? 6 months, way back in the early days. In 2013, we built this one. It's an iron worker machine that shears steel. This new one here on the right sheared 1x10" steel. Still worked, and it took us 2 days with 2 people to build this, and like a few days to design, because it's a super simple thing. So we learned a lot about, okay, if you can understand the basic mechanisms, you can do radical things in different ways. And then we learned how to do real-time documentation, people participating remotely. And then we got into swarms. This was a 1,400 square foot building. This is where I'm calling you from right now.
Okay.
50 people, 5 days. Okay. Now, 6 people were skilled workshop leaders. Everyone was straight off the street paying for a paid workshop. We did everything starting from the foundation. We put everything up to the PV panels. We did not finish the inside. At that time, we weren't as good. Right now, the goal is to do the same. 24 people through our apprenticeship, 5 days, absolute finish on the interior as well. So that means down to finished trim and appliances and everything else. I talked about this real-time documentation. Oh, wait, but let me go view present. That's better. Swarms. We did swarms in 2015 with aquaponic greenhouse. Once again, 5 days for that structure in the back, which turned out to look like this on the inside a few months later with fish and aquaponics.
We need a tour sometime.
Oh, this is pretty much collapsed right now. We didn't maintain this. This thing is okay. So
the hut, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask.
So
let's do it fixed yet, but yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean, we basically, rocket ship takes off. We do a lot of different experiments, and then people leave, thing collapses. That's the story. Until you get some stable revenue flows that you can maintain people and maintain projects and things like that. Doesn't mean that we don't know exactly how to do this. This is absolutely fully documented down to the 3D printed fittings that drip water from those growing beds back into the pond and stuff like that. This is all like the growing towers are open source design. We have the exact blueprints for that. How do you do the tilapia, the ponds? It's all in CAD and stuff like that. All right, so it's not lost. It's precious. This is all fully documented. The 10,000 hazelnut plants here that you see, about 50 or so. Oh yeah, about 50 or so are alive. But that was a big experiment, and they're still breeding grade experimental hazelnuts that are going to produce enough for commercial crop. They're the 50
so
things
some did make it through?
Huh?
Some did make it through?
They did. There's like 50 that are now, as tall as, like 4 feet tall or whatever, or 4 or 5 feet tall.
Neat.
So, it's like, but basically, like as soon as I planted full rows with those crazy open source machines, you might have seen some videos on that. The
flail mower thing
just got pulled out by, I don't know who it was. It was maybe squirrels or deer or nibbler. It's like whole rows got pulled out like the day after and stuff. All right. But let's talk about the adventures in building. In building, we started with mud huts and cordwood huts. Well, this is great. You got your internet there on the wall and a Lister engine burning vegetable oil for power. Okay, that's a good start. We built the workshop out of compressed earth blocks. We built CB houses like this. That was the first house with a CB.
I remember that one.
Yep. We had the Open Building Institute Kickstarter where this structure is actually also CEB, and we put, you cover it from the rain because we were using unstabilized block. Oh yeah, this is a nice video still. Yeah, the Open Building Institute. That's still a really good video in terms of the concept of the seed eco home and the expandable modular homes, the incremental housing, which the first example of which was seed eco home 1. That's the current implementation. I'm like right there, back there, talking to you right now. That's the aerials. Seed eco home 2. We built that pretty close by, like 100 feet from that. Joshua was here when we were building it. Seed eco home 3, which was just a simple prototype that we built just to show the crowd swarm builds, and then we took it all down and actually reused the houses, some of these in this new house. That's for sale right now. Seed eco home 4. And this is a beauty, absolute complete finish from ground to zero, everything documented, 1,000 pages of documentation, like 10,000 pictures, full CAD for every system and all that. We learned about hardscape, landscape, utilities, heat pumps, PV, everything, concrete work. And this is Seed eco home 5. We laid the foundation for that during the winter of a few years ago. Okay, so now what do we do? So this house here, it actually includes, for the same price as a regular market home, we include PV because we're at lower cost. So every build we're going to innovate. Like, what do we innovate on next? How about thermal batteries? What's a thermal battery? Hot water or cold water stored, run by PV through a heat pump. And then you have, when you store water in as simple a system, for example, as IBC, those bulk container totes, those 1 cubic meter totes. Did you know that if you heat that water up only like 30 C, so you're going from like 60 F or, up to like 120 F Fahrenheit, which is the long term, those plastic things. It's about 30 or so C. You get 5 days of storage from 16 of those totes. That's like 8 by 8
You
by
just
16
talking hot water
feet.
storage or what?
Yes, exactly. So,
Yeah.
so what's going on
Would
here?
that be with insulation or no? Just from the mass itself.
So what's happening is you're generating electricity from PV. So, for example, on this home, we're going to put 12 kilowatts on the roof. So it's twice as what the small house has. The 1300 square foot. This is 1300 square foot here. This is 2000. It's got twice the roof area. 12 kilowatts.
Yeah.
You're running a heat pump, which heats and cools water. Those are out there. They cost about $5K. Now you're taking that water through a heat exchanger. So in the winter, you're blowing hot air through. The hot water goes through space heating. In the summer, you're cooling water. Who believes that? Did you ever take a cold shower and think how cold that is? Do you think that could cool your house in the summer? Yeah, that's just geothermal cool from the ground beneath your feet.
Yeah, those systems are neat.
Right. So why isn't everybody doing this? Because this is big deal. Big deal.
Money.
60% of all energy use in a home, electricity use, is heating, cooling, and water. Did you know that? So if you do that, then you can do a tiny, like universal power supply battery banks for the rest of any of your loads. So this brings you into a thing of solving the intermittency of solar energy. So we're going to do this on the next houses. So some of the other things we want to do. So milestone 2, like production lumber, right? Or production CEB.
Yeah.
Then 3D printing, like you could get these cheapo. I mean, I was actually looking into China for filament makers that are like production grade. Look at that. That one actually is only 3,700. I don't know if that's real, but the bottom line.
AliExpress is dangerous.
Yeah.
So many cool things.
There. But look at the savings.
No,
if we mill our own lumber, we got 20K savings. Okay, we got to grow some trees. It takes 2 acres. Of trees sustainably harvested, meaning that you're just taking out some. 2 acres for one house. CBs can save you 5K in the wall cost. Walls are actually not a big part of the cost. You have, for plastic, you can do like decking, you can do electrical plumbing fittings, like landscape block. You can do like a lot of different parts.
GeoGrid, non-structural block.
Oh yeah, GeoGrid as a big one.
Yeah. For the driveway,
So if you use waste plastic and all this stuff with the 3 machines, you got bottom line materials reduction from 60K to 20K. That's pretty cool. So that's what we want to do. Right now our cost is 120K materials and labor. Industry standard is 180. So we've got this 60K advantage. Could that help us move along? Yeah, that's a big deal. It's like, it's pretty cool. But here's another thing. Like I was actually looking into skid steers because we gotta have one. We don't. Our tractor is not ready yet. Like we don't have a production tractor right now. We can watch. Revive this one but not be production grade where you have to kind of maintain and fix it. But the cost. Take a look at the costs. The OSE version, like the one you see there, with 76 horsepower, 40 gallon per minute hydraulics, which means you can run any heavy duty equipment. You got about 15K in materials, just materials, compared to a turnkey Bobcat, like this one. It costs like 75K. Okay, but here's the thing that kind of gave me a reality check when I was looking into these numbers. If you look at the ROI. Over the lifetime of a Bobcat machine, it is 3. So say you pay $75,000 for that Bobcat. over lifetime, after you experience all your costs, you're only getting out like around 200K. I mean, what point is it's marginal. That's why, like, machine rental is super expensive, and then the guy who does the Bobcat work, they always are running after the next job. So this is like treadmill ROI. You're always on the treadmill. This is not freedom, right? Like and then in 5 years the thing breaks, and you got to buy another one, and you're on a cycle again. Now, if you do the OSE version, you're talking about maintain it, you swap parts in and out in an hour.
Yeah.
It's lifetime. So its ROI is about 30 at that rate, and compared to 3 over life. It matters.
The other day, I was trying to grab the number for, like, I was talking with someone, like, I was sitting there typing up edits, and they're like, what the hell are you doing? So I was talking up about, like, kind of the concept, and they're like, oh, okay, so wait, could I build one? And, like, where did you get the good bill of materials or cost from? I could dig later of where I was looking on the wiki, but
yeah, it's
of
all
like
there.
the latest version.
Yeah, we gotta organize. So let's talk about some of these things, how we organize around this. But also, like, okay, so here engines are a weak part. Like right now, we buy off-the-shelf engines. But what about this? Did you know that open source electronic fuel injection already exists? If you have a like a high quality China CNC, like they actually, I mean, these actually look not bad. But the point is that there are several factors lower cost than anything you get in America. But imagine you had one of these, and now you can make your own engines and things. So you buy one of these from China, put on open source Linux CNC controls. You make parts for another copy. You open source it. You start making your own engines, hydraulic pumps, and you've solved this equation for lifetime design.
Yeah.
So man, it's so sweet. Okay, so now we're starting with our program. And who are we training? We're training builders, but we're really training collaboration architects. So you do the builds, like, it's a hard sell for building because it's super hard work, right? So how do you frame it in a proper context? I mean, the idea is in order to build a new civilization, you got to study how to build it yourself. And hence, you go to our school, 2 days of build time, 3 days school. What we're going to do is plan on running 2-week builder crash course. So September 1, we're going to start with a 2-week builder crash course. And when you go through the program, you build 2 houses every 2 months. That's with 24 people and just working those 2 days. So that's an insane schedule. Think about it. If you go through so many builds, you're going to pick up like 10x the trades, So this is the current one for sale right now. That's what it looks like. Hasn't sold. The market it's on the market for 72 days. It's active. Right now, the market is like really bad because of high interest rates. I don't know. We might lower the price or whatever. But look what it cost us to build it. There's a lot of revenue in there. Okay, builder crash course. We're going to build a simple but complete home. And this is not what we're going to build, but we're going to build something with a flat roof that's kind of this style, but you go through absolutely everything in a house. So builder crash courses, like we did it before, except now it's absolute completion of the interior. We're also doing the option where on September 1, come in for 2 months. What do you get to do? You get to drive away with 2 sections of 10 by 20 feet as the starter home kit. So kind of like, this is actually what Pop-Up House does. They kind of do it this way, except this is like, you don't do this yourself. It's a commercial kit. But for us, we're going to do these 2 things that we send you home with on a trailer. You get those 2 sections that you span in between with roof sections. So in those 2 months, you basically invest in building your own house. So instead of like working for 10 years or your life to get a home, you can do this financial independence package. And we're setting up room to, actually what we're planning on. So check this out. This is our current aerials. That's the old workshop. This is a new workshop space. This large structure, okay, this thing kind of moved over, but this large structure is, it's this long thing here, 176 by 50 feet. And you can actually work on 6 of those homes inside there at the same time. We're also planning like Hab Lab 2. Katarina doesn't want to call it Hab Lab 2, but we're going to do it like right there, about a 60 by 60 footprint for 24 students. So basically 12 doubles. And then as you move on through the program, you can probably build your own little hut elsewhere or something like that. So I don't know. That's kind of what I've got. That's the latest, and maybe let's talk about. Stop presenting. Let's see. And open to questions. And what do we do? So the thing is, September 1, we start. I mean, if we're short of people, we can also actually hire builders to be part of the program. We're flexible anywhere from, you can do all build. I mean, we're actually opening up to that option. We have 2 people that are already signed up. There's several more that are applying. But one person expressed interest. Well, what if we, like, I want to learn to be a construction manager fast. Okay. So it's actually Judy, and she's she's a mid-course corrector, mid-course career shifter. She runs a salon. She says, I want to build housing. I want to be a construction manager. And she's signing up. And she's asking, okay, well, how about a schedule of 3 hours, 3 days a week, 12 hours? And because she actually still has a other job, maybe as she transitions. So there's opportunities where you go like full build. The ideal package, I think, is the 2 days of build and 3 days of school, and then weekends off. But we can be flexible on how many days of build versus school you get, and you pay big tuition. But it's designed to be self-funding, as in this is like college without the debt. So the work study, when you do the work study or work in the summer, you get to pay for it covers itself. The housing is provided, so we're trying to make it easier that way. But right now, yeah, we're getting the new website up and things like that. Getting the video up. There's publicity coming out for the program. Hopefully, many more people would sign up, and that's where we're at. What do you say? How do you get people to sign up?
I think the flexibility with scheduling and kind of setting your own direction is really good. The crash course is great as well, because you don't have to just, I'm going to commit to 4 years or 2 years or however long. You just come and experience what it's like to build. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great way for someone to get their feet wet and kind of get a feel for OSE in general to be able to want to continue on.
Yeah. So that each 2-month cycle, we focus it. Okay, the first one is like you're learning the building things. The second one we might do. Okay, now let's start introducing not enterprise, but more like the machines that reduce the cost, and do a high quality program around that. So there's different ways to go about it, but ultimately, what I think we got to strive for is the beauty of the swarm design build process. I think we've discovered a lot of how to do it, but we need more bodies. Like, imagine you had like 100 people, maybe like 10% are complete subject matter experts. So say we're open sourcing the CNC machine for industrial productivity, like engines and stuff, and hydraulic manufacturing. Get like a person who's retrofitted Linux CNC on a machine, someone who ran one of these machining centers, someone who does coding, just get enough people, engine designers, so that it makes sense, and then still have a huge swarm on the internet. So you're getting, in that 2 months, you're getting so many hours of development time, but you have to structure it such that people want to come and maybe like have the build the very last week. So imagine like, 2 months, you're working hard on this. All of us here at the facility would be, okay, there's the 24 students. We'd be studying design guides, the collaborative methods, and the people who joined for that program, it would be on top of the 24 students. It would be like, let's have 100 people sign up just for that aspect of learning the collaborative architecture that makes it happen. And then end up with, okay, there's a swarm at the end. We're building this thing, so, but that costs, if you look at how intense that is, that's like $500,000 package. There's equipment there. So that's the kind of numbers we got to be talking about, and it's doable. I think foundations could support it. I think revenue generation from the program can support it. But we got to build up to that. And once we have construction managers that can run crews, then we can generate more revenue and things like that, and build up to more cohorts of 24 as soon as we can.
Okay, so I have a couple questions then.
Yeah.
And I guess in regards to housing, can you run past me again what the accommodations are out that way? Because I know that's probably a big thing for a lot of people who would have to move on site.
We're shutting down the Hab Lab too much
Okay.
mold. So no,
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
we can restore that. But the thing is, given how fast we can build, it's actually easier if you have the money for basic materials, and we're gonna make this look really good too. And we're gonna have all solar. It's gonna have PV on the roof, living roof, but it's easier for us to build. So we doing this common structure.
Yeah.
If you look at there's some documents online, but the basic concept is it's 60 by 60. The whole middle area is common area. There's a kitchen there. There's 6 toilets, 6 showers and sinks. And then the individual rooms are 10 by 20, 12 of them. So initially we start with
Kind of like a dorm
doubles.
kind of deal.
It's like a dorm. So,
Okay.
and then as people want to get, hey, I'm moving out of here. This is too tight. Yeah, sure. Let's do we have 2 hours of community service per week, so we can accommodate that. So, for example, imagine we swarm with 24 people, 2 hours in 1 week. We could probably get, that's 48 build hours. That's easily a simple structure, and maybe finish it the interior next week. So that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Imagine we have our sawmill. Hey, we can get lumber for enough for 2 homes a year off the forest. We got like 4 or 5 acres of forest. There's enough lumber in there.
Huh.
We could just, okay, 20,000 saved for the cost of a real full house. And this would be a much smaller thing, so we can probably build one. But that's how we think. Okay, so radically low cost infrastructure. We're starting to use our machines to build things. But yeah, for the initial housing, it's gonna have to be quality. It's gonna be, you gotta have to be comfortable. You can't burn out. We're not gonna work you hard like we worked Joshua 4 years ago.
You know, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You know what you're getting into. You know you're going to be in building homes. You know you're going to be out in Missouri in the summer. Potentially, it is just it's what it is.
But hopefully
But yeah,
that heat pump does not fail, and you're cool,
yeah.
right? And then we open source the heat pump so we can fix it for $5 instead of spending $1,000 or whatever. Instead of more like throwing it out, because right now.
Honestly, though, no, that was a bit that kind of had me a bit jaded in construction. Was I'm over there like, time to sort the trash, or like, oh, let me scrap this, or I'll take this. Or they're like the CFLs; those go in the trash. This goes the trash. Like, oh
Yeah.
my
So
gosh.
Eric works.
But,
So Eric, what do? You work with HVAC systems too?
no, currently I'm doing. They call it environmental services, which is a really nebulous way, but it's basically spill response, which for mainly either fuel or hydraulic oil. Like we're by the port. If a forklift's hydraulic line bursts and there's like puddles of fluid everywhere, we go sweep that up.
Yeah.
Collecting barrels of oil or hazmat. I joke it's like Rockenbach. I don't know if any of you had that toy, but like it was little remote control vehicles that move around barrels and stuff. Like half the day we're just moving around barrels. And then like what I'm doing why I'm at a hotel in Georgia is every so often we clean the inside of like the giant tanks they store the gasoline in, so they drain all the stuff out. Then we ventilate it until it's like reasonably safe. Sometimes we're still on like all Monsters Inc. 2319 looking masks and whatnot, but we go in there, we pressure wash it, so it's neat, but it's work. But before that, actually go back way more. Did a bit of UNF, but the way I wasn't the best with like
What's
a
UNF?
lot of the high eggs. Oh, University of North Florida. No, my bad.
Okay.
But so I did a little bit of that, but between some executive functioning kind of stuff with like the keeping up with it all, and then COVID hit. So then there was a bit of a gap. I did some Walmart job to keep some time going, but then I went to FSCJ, which is like the local community college. Did a year of welding for trade school. And turns out the thing I have where I have shaky hands, like I could weld a chair or do like a I welded it held it kind of weld, but like the stuff that pays good, like you're doing steam lines at a power plant where they're X-raying it, and if they see a single piece of slag, they're like, get the hell out of here. That didn't work out. Then I was joking. I was joking. Like I could just keep going down the hall because there was the welding room, then the electrical room, then the machining. I'm like, I could take every class here. I could learn all this stuff. But so then I did electrical. I did a bit of that. It was pretty good. Well, the first one, I didn't even try to. There was a flat earther guy, and like there was a little bit of clashing there, but
Right.
like it tried to de-escalate, but that was rough. But the other company I was for surge labor for a commercial project. On the note of the renovating for mold, like I feel that because it was a hilarious place to be a fly on the wall because it was a country club.
Yeah.
So all these people walking into like a zone where people are on lifts wearing hard hats and they're like, "Oh wow, I love what you did with the place." Like you can't be in here. Like, but did a ton of renovation with
So-
that. Learned a lot. Did conduit, electrical, yada yada yada. Then now doing this hazmat stuff. But
Yeah. So in any case, what we're trying to do right now is, I mean, it's a absolutely diversified education, including soft skills and hard skills. The experiment itself, we're going to reclaim every single inch of this land because it's going to become intense and well managed. Do it inch by inch. Right now, we're starting from this area that we're building up new stuff, and then doing the full experiment of the startup village in the context of, here's the education that allows you to do it. Because the missing link is, people have all these ideas, but you got to have the hard skills to make it happen. And there's a lot of opportunity there. I think we're just completely innovating on education. There's technology, so it's all kinds of social technology. So I really say it's like we're not building machines now. We're talking about building people because it's a scarcity mindset that we're trying to get past in all this because the possibilities are there. As you
like
know.
herding cats.
I think that was one of the main issues for me when I was there. I'll just be transparent about it.
Yeah.
I love the idea. I fully support OSE, but I just didn't see at that time a way for me to move forward. I didn't really know where to go with what I was learning at the time, and I just didn't see anything else after that. As far
Let's
as
explore that.
living and making money, but now I think with the way you're approaching it, building a village, actually getting people and really trying to retain them and having them this be like their lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a much better, more immersive, cohesive solution rather than come here and learn and then
What do you do after?
and you know a lot more, but you have to go back out to what you were doing before. I bought a condo in the middle of a city. I can do some things here. I can build some machines, but I'm not going to be able to get the OSE experience or recreate it in my environment.
Yeah. And then what do you think is the key to success? Like at this point, do you think there's enough people that see that value proposition, or do you think that's still a hard sell? Because, for example, I mean, we're even, I know we got to get our publicity proper and all that, websites and all that, but even, as I, announced there's the fellowship, the full ride version of this, where you competitively, if you're the, really top candidate, you get a free ride, and then still nobody has signed up. Like I went to Canada actually to a high school where one of our collaborators was offering 2 scholarships, and I spoke to a number of classes. It's like nobody's signing up. So and it's basically marketing issue too, but so we can address some of that. But it still blows me away. Like I thought we'd be like completely filled because I see it's like, okay, the ship has arrived. We've got a revenue model. We've got a development model. We've got land. We've got resources necessary to bootstrap and fund to the point where we can build houses and continue that funding. We got the foundation funding and things like that. It's like, what's up?
I think one thing will be too is once like the first penguins kind of go and you get that inertia, but it's easier said than done. But I think one thing was definitely kind of the publicity and the networking and stuff, because a lot of people I've talked to that hadn't known about it before, they're like, wow, that's great, but they just didn't really know about it. Or then some people, they get information from like the years where it went from TED Talk to lots of money and, oh crap, what do we do? And like you were still learning the how to organize, how to get it going.
Yeah.
But then they didn't hear about after that. So there's like some disconnect kind of there to address. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Periscope down has seemingly been rather difficult because I've actually been pretty active in following all the excitement over the past 2 years or so, because that's when I've been doing most of my contributing to the project. And then most of the people I find in the outer orbits of OSE, it feels like they just don't know that anything's happening. Most people are like, "Is the project dead?" Is usually what I hear, which I think that, you know, once you have more of a system set up to make sure that, you know, all the recent changes on the wiki and all of the different, you know, development timeline pieces that get hit for different machines as you go on, you know, as long as that's being funneled towards someone who knows how to make the story sense of it, you know, tie it back to the narrative, let everyone know, hey, you know, not only are we actually hitting development timelines and pieces of it, but it's one step closer to, you know, the open source economy, the whole promise, the whole shebang, you know, the energy abundant future, all that kind of stuff. Because I feel like if people like, because honestly, I've been able to read the narrative as we've gone along over the past 2 years. I'm sold. You know, like I'm absolutely down, because I've gotten to watch as you've made good progress, and I've gotten to watch as the you know, as the different writings have come through on the recent changes in the wiki about, you know, what future plans look like, and it makes sense. You know, it's all the math makes sense for the energy calculations. Everything's there, right? But I really do think that the most important piece will be finding a way for us to convert all of the, you know, all of the wiki data and all of the improvements to come for machines and all of the just raw media content that's going to flow into the project as this ramps up. All that stuff has to be properly captured and parsed into something that's not overwhelming. You know, if you're talking about 50 industrial machines to the tune of full productization, to the tune of many millions of dollars probably worth of development, whether that be in time and efforts or materials or what have you, depending on what it is, all of that for any particular individual is a lot. And ramping it up will be difficult unless we plan for the extra like the fire hose worth of information we're going to have to put out in how we're going to have to kind of layer it so that only the juiciest tidbits get flung far, and then all the nitty gritty technical details are living at home where people come to find them to actually build machines. But I think maybe having a workflow or something where as changes are made, like I know you mentioned you're working with like a marketing company now, and I remember you having one of the YouTube videos recently was a discussion with them, if I remember. Yeah. So I mean that would be a great place to start, I guess. Would be, hey, you know, jump on the RSS feed on the wiki or whatever we're basically up to, and watch for updates on these albums and that kind of stuff. Because yeah, it's just I'm sold. Like the story is compelling, but the marketing, the getting it out there is I think still the trickiest bit.
Melanie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I think that I've been watching the videos that you've been having with the marketing team. I haven't finished them all, but it looked like they are definitely contributing good insights there. But what I noticed when you made your announcement of the apprenticeship program, and I was reviewing the materials, like from the technical writing perspective and the and marketing perspective that I have, I did feel like there was just a little bit too much information coming at people, and not the kind of information like that was really driving home like what was going on. Like if you carefully read everything that you sent out, you would get an idea. But if you like tried to skim it or be distracted in any way, the message wasn't going to get through, right? And you know, I tried posting about the apprenticeship program in Lemmy, which I know is kind of a niche audience, and I was surprised to not really get. Well, I wasn't too, to be honest, I wasn't too surprised, but it wasn't. There wasn't a lot of like, oh, like let's go. Yeah. And I also got some feedback from people just DMing me, like asking me questions like, what's the difference between the apprenticeship and the fellowship, and what do you think's going on? Is this legit? Like, what's, you know, a lot of like questions. And I think that just like having a very concise delivery of information to people, so that it hits them where they are with a simple message, and really nailing home that flexibility, because we're trying to get as many people to participate as we can. Like you said, we need bodies. And how do you get bodies? Like, bodies go the path of least resistance, kind of, right? So if you take it like, okay, like, we are going to just streamline you right through, that's what you want to make it feel like for people. You want to make it feel easy. And I just felt like there was just in the initial announcement, it just felt like a little bit too much text on the page, too much like focusing in to figure out what was going on. And I think that the marketing team is going to help us with that, simplifying that message and making sure that people of all types feel like they can show up. And feel like this is them, because otherwise they're going to be like, I'm not an engineer, I'm not going to school for engineering, or I'm not this, or I'm not that, right? And that's where I think we need to make some improvements, is that kind of thing.
How do you explain, like, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, I'm trying to say, okay, well, there's so many different roles in the whole collaboration architecture. It's not just engineers, it's architects, it's all kinds of skill sets, from graphics to design to just about everything. How come that I could never communicate that? What's missing?
On the note of that, with the onboarding in particular, I can speak to that, where for a while there, if I had time to burn, like, I could kind of talk with someone, get them on the wiki, not just the automatic wiki message, but be like, hey, here are things that help me out, here's with this, here's with that, or then helping them get around the various pages and stuff. But in terms of if they could more easily get in there, start doing whatever, or like, one thing I would say in terms of how you might be having trouble with it is like the way some of us kind of engineer types think, where we're like, oh, we have the CAD, we have the pictures. Like, I'm the type of nerd, I see that Google Drive folder with all the pictures of the construction ongoing, and I'm like, wow, let me dig through this and see what's going on. But some people, if there was something almost like, I think Precious Plastic is a pretty decent comparison. I have some critiques, which I kind of started in the thing I called EP codification, where you can kind of focus so much on the marketing and the publicity that it kind of loses the vision. So that's a risk that we have to kind of balance. But at the same time, they did that thing where they did like something where, like, every month, this is what we did. So people putting money or mental kind of investment into the project know what's happening with it, rather than kind of being in the dark or getting jaded. Or then even just people perusing by in the algorithm, they discover this and go like, wow, look at all that cool stuff they're doing. And good work or good hardware speaks for itself at the end of the day. I mean, messages are great and they're important. But at the same time, if you just be like walking around like a house being like, yeah, I built this, or we did this is how we did this, or this is a tractor. Like, I mean, that's like some YouTube shorts and some TikTok people go like, wow, the tractor. But like, if you, there is a certain value to that, I guess.
But what about like the non-engineer audience? How to reach?
I think one thing we could maybe do, which would be kind of goofy, but it could be like almost like bring what you can, or like your like, I don't know how quite to word it, but something where like someone's not an engineer, but they're a great graphic designer. So they get with us and we're like, oh man, I wish we had graphics for being like a poster I could print on the wall, or like, oh, this is about this. And they're like, oh wait, but I'm a great graphics designer. So we can kind of feed that to them. And over time, they could kind of learn the skills. Like, there was a great bit in that radio thing I plugged of the Habitat for Humanity, where the gal was like, oh, I don't know if I could use the RAM set. And then she's like, the RAM setting machine, like the powder actuated tool for the fastener. So like some of that can kind of come. But in the beginning, if it's like, oh, you don't need to learn how to build a house per se, you particular, but if you make us a really great infographic or a really great marketing poster for like a school, that contribution still helps. That kind of ties into like the document everything thing, where you're like, oh, no one would use this. It's just a small edit, or oh, I'm just fixing like some typos or something dumb. But like, that's part of where the swarming kind of helps, where everyone doing those little tiny bits can kind of. So while it isn't a direct tie-in for the program of like the people going out learning the stuff per se, some of that aspect I think could be helpful to lean into.
I have some remarks on this too. I would say, as far as how to capture non-engineering type folks, most of them probably don't know how to contribute or how to build some of the equipment that we're talking about building. If we really want folk to be able to contribute, even in the capacities that they can, we have to make it very open and clear about what we want and super accessible for them to upload and everything else. Unfortunately, the wiki is, well, it's been good for what it's been good for. It unfortunately isn't super conducive to that, because it's kind of hard to find where is it first best to go for the most up-to-date information. That's one thing.
Yeah.
And then another from there is, what tasks actually need to be completed, right? Like, so what maybe in a typical software development kind of workflow, you'd have your various upcoming milestones all broken down into their various upcoming tasks that the main team is working on, but people can pop in and out, read the list of issues, read the list of open, requests for help. And they're like, oh, hey, I know how to fix something like that in that particular piece of software. I'll jump in, make a small commit, and then maybe 2 more, 3 more, and that's how you get them, I wanted to jump in when I first started helping, and I was like, I want to just, in the CAD, understand how the 3D printer works, so I'll build a big one in CAD only and see how far I get. And that just further piqued my interest. But I mean, right now, anyone in particular coming to contribute to us, it kind of presupposes that they'll like arrive at the wiki, know from what's on the first page that it's still actively, engaging in project work. That's one thing too. We might want to update that a lot more frequently with what's going on.
Frequently than once per 10 years?
Approximately more, yes. But say you pop into the recent changes, you see it's still active, then you have to come across things that interests you enough to sign up for a full account, to maybe also read the whole 10 different page introduction to OSE's methodologies and workflows, which were nice to read through, and they're very detailed and really do make a lot of sense, but it's a lot to dive into. And then to suppose that any particular person will have wandered so far down that path, you'll land where I've landed, essentially, with whatever they can kind of come up with contributing to the project, which is a lot to get through. And it's kind of like the application was too. It had a lot going on for it, but I remember there being a piece in there where you were asking people to mail them a house or mail you a house module. I mean, maybe you had 9 people waiting to sign up right then and be like, oh, wait a minute, if I have to actually know what to do before I even get there, maybe I'm done, I don't know how I would manage to do that. So, and even it almost feels like the high barrier to entry application process, while it would have vetted down, vetted if there was a mass, with millions of eyes on it, maybe it would be able to kind of squeeze through into the very particular niche that you had, but it wasn't a wide enough cast of net, in my opinion, at least for that piece. But yeah, I think to be able to gather more support from folk who are, only have certain skill sets that they are willing or able to share, we have to make it easy for them.
So what's the bottom line there? So are we talking about a WordPress site, GitHub, Wiki?
Probably. Well, you know what?
The clarity of the communication coming from?
That's a good point. So I would say that for for the story end of it, right? To get the actual word out, I'm sure your marketing team has a better list than I do, but your basics website, and obviously the wiki will have some, and all your social media platforms will probably have reposts of what you are up to on the website, right? That stuff's pretty easy. And then I would say that the best case scenario, in my opinion, would be if we were doing documentation similar to how I did the most recent work on the D3D Pro, where the documentation is all stored as text files on GitHub, because then we can just use all of the same software tools that we need, right? right through GitHub, which includes, your upcoming milestones, and it has a wiki for that particular project, forum stuff. It's all like right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can also use a lot of automated workflows through their little backend, which I just use to like re-render the documentation and spit out an HTML page and then serve the simple page, and that's how it renders the docs. So something like that I would say is ideal, because then you would have a consistent way for people to contribute. You go into these text files and you change the parameters, add pictures, basic, you learn your 5-minute syntax tutorial, and then you're able to dabble in there and make changes. And then you can make a pull request, and learning how to do that takes 20 minutes, maybe. You want to take an hour to be thorough about it, you can do that, right? And then people have a similar to how the wiki could capture all the little bits and pieces we need, but this would we could channel them into all their separate branches and then pick the ones we like and selectively move forward, kind of like your old merge workflow was in the wiki. But this time we can actually keep it in like a traceable source, where we can see what changed version to version. We can keep all the old history in place, but we can also keep moving forward and put out our best documentation that constantly improves. And then with all the data living in a format like that, you can port it into whatever else, pre-populate your architectural drawings for your CDCO home variations, or, if you want to update all the sizes on your 3D printer parametric file, and then it spits out docs that are just all your cut lists and everything, all that would be well within the realm of possibilities.
I think like half the new website should be for collaborative workflow, collaboration architecture, really understanding like what are all the different ways, how do you plug in, all that. Because one side is, okay, here's like our vision and stuff like that, but then like whole focus on, okay, here's how you get grand, ambitious collaboration on an unprecedented scale, which is still the deal, because the idea is with the 24 people, you learn how to collaborate as 24. Well, what if by next year we've got 10 cohorts? On any project we do, we're going to say we're all working on the same thing because we want to get that thing done, right? And it takes so many people to do it. So you're learning ever larger workflows, and that becomes, it's really rewarding and fascinating, but also you really got to be clear on what's happening. So you've got agency and clarity. Yeah, but I see. There's, because right now what do we have on like the website? It's like there's like nothing on process really. So,
no, because it's not clear how to help.
Yeah,
as much as you want to.
Yeah, and then so like the landing page on the wiki. That side note on the GitHub thing, I'm not the wizard with that coding type stuff, but is there? Well, was it bought by Microsoft, or what was the deal? There was, what was it, GitLab? Was that the similar one? Does that have the same kind of back end and fancy tools to it, or not really? It's more just like
GitLab is a little bit more extensive, and it actually does work well for hardware as well. So you have the same features where you can commit and you can merge and you can track different changes across time, and you can commit a CAD file and it can render it and display it. GitLab, I haven't worked with it in a while, but I don't know if you have the full set of features if you self-post it.
Yeah. And what about orientation for people like yourselves, the ambassadors of OSE, who are always talking about it and bringing it out? What do we need? What do we need to facilitate that, or to invite more people to that role?
I'd say a lot of it would be the kind. I think I made a hyperlink. I don't know if I wrote it yet, but like the elevator pitch of like the guy asking me in the work truck while we're waiting on a pig clean, and like, oh, so what are you doing? And being able to do that. Then, like Alexa was saying, and kind of some of what I was saying too, like the landing pages, like the go to this link, not go to the recent edits, look around, like having that. And then kind of the clear vision and benchmarks, like what are they currently doing? They are currently building this house, as you can see in these pictures and this and that. And then one thing, this is kind of forking off, but one thing that helped me with getting started, I think a lot of people could easily find their niche with it, was the categories and kind of the interlinks, because some of the pages, it's just like I forget what the term was, like orphan pages where they don't interconnect. But one of my, granted nerd thing, but Wikipedia is you look up one thing and end up finding others. But if someone's like like looking up about an open source knitting machine or something, they start doing it, they start going, they realize, there's this category, it needs some work. I can fill in that. I can fill in that. The next thing you know, they're like doing half the wiki kind of stuff. So like by having that system be more fleshed out, even if they're just going into the recent changes thing, they can kind
Ways,
of
so basically organizing roles. Basically,
yeah.
there's the content and there's graphical or other text indexical
Mhm.
environments all around that. I mean, that's information architecture type of stuff.
Yeah, no, like it's well, I think definitely we want that GitLab or whatever thing for
Yeah.
like Alexa. Like I'm not the wizard with it, but that definitely has utility, and we should
Yeah.
lean into that.
Yeah, so
I
many
think at the
different.
same time leaning into making pages heavily interlinked. Every page has a category, and everything kind of flows more. It's I'm getting there. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work, but I think that
Yeah.
that would help people. Or there's a I don't know if I've networked you guys, but he basically compiles a huge list of scientific papers and information and stuff. I think it's called Sci-Hub or something. But he had some much more eloquent rant on all that, where like, just put it in there because like the discovering is like the important part, and just people just like walking through a library or a store, like the impulse buys of edits
Yeah. Yeah.
and ideas and
Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool. Melanie, were you going to say something or?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with the idea that like development work should probably start taking place on GitHub. Because GitHub's going to give us those discussions and stuff. But then bringing it back to your other question, like how do we get non-engineers on board? So my question is, I haven't been able to see every marketing video yet, but have any of the marketing, I mean, not every, have any of them talked to you about developing personas?
Um, not not sure. I mean, the idea is about the brand work is we start with here's the brand identity, and then the main
Yeah.
thing from the engagement there is we need a video specifically for the apprenticeship, and then some marketing like on Instagram or TikTok and stuff. So getting into the younger audiences, which would be interesting. But yeah. But go ahead.
So yeah, what you got to do is, you're going to naturally know how to talk to people like you, right? Or people that you've worked with. But when you want to market something to someone maybe that's of a different mindset, you really need to go through the exercise of like, who is this person? What are their goals?
Yeah.
Right? And it helps to, you at least have an example of like me, because I'm a non-engineer that's involved. You probably had some other collaborators. And if you have at least like 5 examples, what did all of those people have in common? Right? Maybe you notice a trend. Like these non-engineers joined up. What was it that they all had in common? And then you can mark those traits down and make sure that your messaging is targeting that. So that would be one thing. And the other thing would be perhaps almost like having sort of a branding of the different ways that people can involve in. So it's like, oh, do you want to be on the if we have the documentation team, but just like making that more available earlier on, like we have documentation team, we have architecture team, we have, and making sure that that's going and and making it clear that it's kind of like the unique value proposition of like, okay, what does a graphic designer get from working with OSE? Well,
Yeah.
you get experience, uh, making graphics for open hardware projects. So that could be something for your younger audience to be like, do you want a portfolio that makes you very attractive to, I know we're going toward the entrepreneurial audiences, but like sometimes you might want to mix in that little bit of, getting people like artists want portfolio items. And so just kind of making it clear that this is kind of a reputation builder. And the final point that I wanted to make is like, no one has problems getting volunteers for like Habitat for Humanity, right? And why is that? Why is everybody so excited about Habitat for Humanity when they're not excited about OSE. Maybe we could like make some comparisons there and see if there's some similarities we could draw that could draw people in and make them think of OSE the way they do Habitat for Humanity, which would be like this unique volunteering experience that's like promoting an ethos, believe it,
Mm-hmm.
How do you do
right?
that? So, how do we become like? Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's absolutely right. It's like, and especially now with, oh, what are you doing building spec housing, right? It's like we all actually get some pushback because people may not see. Okay, well that's just the skin of the project. It's not what we do. And,
Yeah.
To some
So-
people,
Alexa.
oh, sorry, I said to some people it's just a house.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they don't see what's important behind it, and that's what we have to bring to the forefront. Really, truly.
So the two things. One, on the note of messaging to different people and kind of what Alexa was saying with it just being a house, I think the whole good hardware speaks for itself, or like while again, me politics nerd, that clicks with me, but everyone's clicked with issues with the car where it's not designed to be worked on. Like, I don't know if you saw today, I was rambling on some stuff on that, or things being built really cheaply, or like leaning into that aspect.
Yeah,
it's simple and it seems dumb,
simple,
but you can be the most like MAGA type and be like, yeah, I hate that cheap hardware, or you could be the most like anarchist leftist and be like, yes, the planned obsolescence. But there is some core not that that's what we'd be shooting for per se, I'm being hyperbolic, but like there is some core interest in having stuff that works and you can fix it. So I think that is a very, very, very valuable thing to leverage if we get the messaging right. And then thing number two, what Melanie was saying with the different teams, I think that was a more eloquent bit kind of tying into of what I was thinking with the what you could bring, where you could have like a full-on video series, which then I know sometimes more frequent posts or things like that get the algorithm or whatever, but you could have like introducing the designer team, or like introducing, or they could be like, or do you want to be someone who does multiple, and like you can make some like granted I say this like I have a bunch of time to work on it, which I don't currently, but like that could be if you made some really snazzy looking thing like kind of Precious Plastic kind of did, or some of these groups, like that could, I think that could really do pretty big. And then like you could have at the end like the what can you bring, dun dun dun, and then, like sign below, scan QR code, and like I think there's something there.
Many things to do. Yeah. So one thing I'll start on is I'm gonna appear. But just basically getting a community call, like do it once a month or so we can continue the discussions and all that. And what's maybe one last question. So what do you guys think of the page Flashy XM stuff, basically the mashup style on Wiki? I mean, that's kind of like a good website is like a mashup. You've got all kinds of different content that's easily linked and well organized. But what about that concept does anyone know I'm talking about with the Flashy XM page on the Wiki?
I thought I was looking at you doing it earlier. I'll go pull it up real quick too while I'm talking.
But that concept where you just put in a bunch of different things. Let's see what shows up there. Is that oh yeah. I mean, it's like if you look at my screen real quick. This thing where you're just embedding a whole bunch of stuff, like, I mean, this is pretty rich actually. Like, you got hyperlinks to all of these things. This is just HTML, CSS. Like, there would be video or like a Scrum board. All this stuff is broken here, and then development board. Like, there's text. You can embed video. This is actually a working doc, so if you go into it, you can actually edit it right there. I can actually be editing this thing. Just a bunch of crazy stuff that helps people orient visually. So it's a visual. Like a dashboard indexing environment. What do you guys think of that kind of mashup style stuff? What's the best tool to do it, or how best to implement it?
I've used a tool called like BuddyBase before to do some kind of some kinds of at least like app building, some like no code app building, which it has an okay look to it. I'm pretty sure you can embed other windows in it, so you can probably make it relatively attractive looking, so more of a pop in and play. But I'm not sure if it's the best tool, but it's one at least I've been somewhat familiar with. But I guess I would press back. What's the juice? What's the squeeze? Why would you want to use one like that?
What's the juice? Because it's about handling a whole bunch of, like, for the system architects, you got to handle vast amounts of knowledge and have it available. Like, for example, right now on the wiki, within seconds, I can go to any single development step of any machine over the last history of all the prototypes. Like, give me 3 seconds, I'll pull it up. That's the kind of level, like, if I want to build me a civilization, well, I got to know how to make my engines, make my whatever, do this, grow potatoes, and whatever, butcher a hog.
So you're essentially looking for a way to interface with it rather than, someone else coming in like, oh, how do I even navigate? So,
well, to be in an environment, so we're in a development environment, right? So we got to be able to access all kinds of assets, collaborate with people, see what's going on. So I have to know who else is on a team, what are we working on, what's the status of everything. So how do you organize that in the most effective way for a system that's more than like GitHub, which is primarily software? This is, okay, here we've got even the land base, we've got trees growing, we've got the Fab Lab that we can control on the computer, send a print job or a CNC machining job to the machine center or whatever. We're flying drones to take a look at how the house is going down the street, whatever, which I did. Like, from here, I fly my drone and I see the house being built. So literally to the point where you're at home, you get into our control interface and you can almost collaborate like you were on site. So add to that networking and the idea of controlling rovers and machines. Like right now, I could be grading the foundation for my new house if I had another, access to it. Like so make it extremely accessible. See all the different elements of the whole development thing. So you're like virtual. It's like virtual mixed reality kind of thing. But that kind of environment.
The long answer, that would be like a huge undertaking, but there've been kind of bits and pieces of talking about that on the I don't know if you're on the Discord yet, but we have a channel on the OSE video game.
Yeah.
And some of the kind of the discussion is interesting with that, where, like, for instance, instead of playing The Sims, if you were playing the OSE building game, it would be networked with the software, where then you could click buy, or like you could actually have plans from that instead of just like a virtual house. You could have an actual house, or
absolutely.
Or making a custom blah 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 blah. It actually makes a file. So like that, but I'd say in terms of what was the acronym, like SMART goals or whatever, that is like obscenely like I absolutely want it. And once we get to the tipping points where we can pull that off, like I'd be down for it. But as of now, I think as of now the main thing was like I was a bit overwhelmed by the thing you posted, granted I'm like old school. I'm like, oh yes, the leaf trees, and there you go, okay, phone book, but like what was it? Having the currently worked on and like the priorities list, I think that would be huge. So something where on like maybe the first third, it's the welcome to blah blah, like kind of like what the welcome page currently is. And then like the next thing below that, just like I don't know if was Kanban the thing or whatever the thing was, where it was like the really well put together
board.
Yeah, that. Oop, wait. Oop, oh dear. Hey. Let's see here. No, I accidentally hit the power button on my phone. Alrighty, no, I'm back. Sorry about that. No, but and then maybe below that could have some more technical stuff, or maybe even that giant link thing that's kind of akin to. I don't know if it's on everything. It was one of those template things where you had to actually kind of do some intense coding, and I couldn't quite get that going. But where it had all the 50 machines, and you could kind of click through all those hyperlinks. That kind of stuff, and I didn't say it quite right, but the way I was able to go through where there were subcategories, where I start out reading about the Babington burner, and next thing you know, I know everything about pyrolysis and this. I think having that page, being able to send people there whenever I'm talking with them about something, and if I can finagle doing this more full time, or someone else. I mean, anyone can do it, but like the having someone physically there to kind of guide people can help, because I mean, volunteering stuff is great, but as more and more of us actually can
Yeah.
full time dedicate, that'll be a huge part as well. Because I mean, if no one's currently volunteering, it can be kind of wild west. But
Yeah.
with someone guiding, even a clunky interface with someone guiding
Yeah.
can work.
Yeah. We could do things of that
Yeah.
nature. Melanie, you've got your hand up.
Yes, indeed. You know how we have this is something that I kind of wanted to bring up that relates to what you're saying. So, you know how we have the OSE Linux OS?
Yeah.
You know, the intention there is that we all have the same tools, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is we're kind of, I feel like since then we're moving away from that thing. And have you heard of Chasm?
No, I haven't.
So it's a way of basically hosting a virtual environment that you could basically. So instead of having like an OSC operating system that gets, you can only maintain that if you're like the administrator of that, and people have to download it and get it on their USB and plug it in. People could just, download it from the GitHub repo, have it on their machine, and run a virtual machine that has all the tools they need for development. And you can even have the projects in there. So you could have, the free CAD files that you're working on in every project. You could have them in folders, and all of that would just be instantly available. And as people are contributing to the repo, that would automatically start showing for everyone who's using the virtual environment. And so you have CAD. Yeah, I'll send it to you. So this is something that I'm, familiarizing myself with, and I think that this is the way to be doing this kind of distributed situation.
I love it. I use it. I agree, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Let's look into that more. Mm-hmm.
I think I can send. There's a few different ways. I'm going to send you this example. This is just an example of it. Okay, but I want to send you something that's kind of in progress. And yeah, Alexa has been using this, like an older version of this. It's a long story.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like useful discussion. Go ahead, Eric. Maybe.
Side note, Melanie, are you on the Discord yet? Because I'm terrible with like keeping track. Yeah, okay. Because we should make a channel on that and develop that, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm Goldfish Laser, Eric.
No, I'm sorry. I'm bad with.
No, it's okay. You just didn't know my real name.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So yeah, let's wrap up here, and I'll continue the monthly call like this. But yeah, in the meantime, we're building infrastructure and doing a lot of stuff, working on the publicity and all of that. One big target audience is also homeschool audiences. So basically, definitely people who are looking into alternative career paths and all that. Yeah, so we're doing a lot of things. So anyway, for now, yeah, let's wrap it up, and I'll send out more info on the next session. I mean, lots of stuff going on. Extremely exciting times, and thanks for making it happen. And I mean, with the with the apprenticeship, yeah, it's like this is going to be it. We're going to get a lot of bodies in, and we'll work hard to attract as many people as possible. So with that said,
hey Marcin, if you have an extra minute or two after the call, could I connect with you one-on-one too for a few moments?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool.
So let's hang up here. Maybe Alexa stick around. So I'll stop recording.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot, everyone.